Hello, hello. So today I'm in my car, just doing a bit of waiting around. It's pretty late at night. I would say around like 10:30 p.m. And you know what late nights do to me? It makes me melancholic and sometimes a bit thoughtful, maybe a bit too much for my own good. But today I thought I'll share an article that I found really helpful and made a big impact in my life. And I hope it does for you too, in some capacity, at least makes you think about some of the life choices you made. Um, so it's this blog post at raptitude.com called Most Lives Are Lived by Default. And it's a very simple idea, really. It's the idea that you don't control your parents, you don't control where you're born, you don't control your skin color, you don't control the language you speak, the schools you go to, the friends you meet. And all of these different characteristics have an influence in your life, right? They might make you who you are in some capacity. And we also don't control the genetic code that's living in your body, as we don't control the parents. And the idea is really simple. It's that if all of these aspects of your life, nature and nurture, are both default, is your life effectively default? Do you even have free will in that capacity? So it illustrates by a very simple example. Goes by this guy called Jamie. He lives in the Midwest in the United States. He's he has a good job. He works for an advertising firm. He's kind of going through a bit of a midlife crisis, you know? Because on the surface, he has everything well planned. He's good with his life. He has health insurance. He has some savings. He has a lot of friends. And he has a girlfriend. His girlfriend's gorgeous. They never fight. And his boss is pretty nice and doesn't really micromanage him. You know, he has a pretty decent, typical 9 to 5 job. And a lot of his friends can't really say the same thing at his age. Um, but the thing is, he kind of has this set routine where he meets his friends, works his job, has a typical 9 to 5, and there wasn't really a time where he actually made a decision, conscious decision that he wanted to do this. You know, it's more like, as we were saying before, a lot of the previous decisions were already made for you in some way or capacity. Your friends around you wanted to be doctors. If you grew up in a culture where everyone became a doctor or a lawyer, perhaps you too will be a doctor or lawyer, because that is just the way things are. That's the way things work, right? But is that really your life? Is that all you were meant to do? Is that what this game called life is all about? Really just checking off a couple of boxes, a couple of checks, and that's it? So the thing about the midlife crisis or the quarter life crisis is part of it stems from boredom and the realization that, holy shit, my life might just look like this for the rest of my life. And I'm not exactly unhappy with this situation, but I'm not exactly happy. I'm bored and I just kind of feel hopeless or useless almost. And maybe what you can look forward to at this point in time is a vacation or something to distract you, or this boys' trip you're going to go on, this honeymoon, the wedding, buying a house, the 2 kids. And there just seems to be something lacking, right? Makes you feel that sometimes something is missing. You kind of just go through all of these check boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again and again. And it's not pretty. It's it just kind of is. And I think the big thing is you just don't feel in control of your life almost. You feel that things are just kind of happen to you. You don't feel a sense of control, a sense of fate, a sense of you can perhaps one day change the direction of your life. Perhaps you can chart out a path of your own. And I think that's probably the biggest thing a lot of people need to realize is that you don't have to live with these defaults. You don't have to do the job that you're currently doing. You don't have to hang out with the friends you currently have. You don't have to live in the same city that you currently have. You don't have to hang out with the same people that you normally do. You don't have to work for the boss you normally do. And you don't have to go on a vacation just like everyone does. You can step back and think about what you want from life. And this is not to say, this is not a criticism of the life that's default. And there's a reason that it's default, because society would stop functioning if everyone actually listened to this and decided that, hey, I want to climb a mountain tomorrow and left their jobs. Society would just crash overnight. It's not favorable to us. It's not favorable to the economy. And we need all of these people working to survive. A necessity, almost. And I think it's more of an observation that perhaps there's more than one way to live your life. And perhaps there is a way to view a lot of the things that you had in a different light. Perhaps not everything has to be default. Perhaps you can make a small decision for yourself that changes things. And perhaps your life might be different. The possibility of it being different. Is different good? Not necessarily. You lose the stability, the social networks, the functions. Change is scary, and a lot of people don't like change. Rightfully so, because you don't know what's on the other end. You're taking a leap of faith. You got to take a leap before the faith runs out. And if the faith runs out, you're a shell of what you could be. I took a bit of a detour, but essentially, you just need to think about it like this, right? So, in all likelihood, what you inherited, and I quote, what you inherited is nowhere near what's best for you. So, chances are there is a better neighborhood for you out there. Chances are there might be a better partner for you out there. Chances are there might be a better job, a different line of work that might be a better fit for your personality out there. Chances are there could be something that you could be doing that is far more impactful, rewarding, and less soul crushing than what you currently have. And I think what it means is a lot of your life is not necessarily optimal, and change is always difficult. It's very difficult. But what I found from my personal experience, and to give you a bit of background, I live in Asia, then I moved to Europe, and now I'm here in the States. Never once have one of my leaps not put me in a better place. Not immediately, no. Sometimes it put me in a worse place. But being in a bad spot is actually a good thing, because being in a bad spot allows you to reflect on all the things that are suboptimal of your life, that perhaps something that you could have done better, something that you should have done, would have done, might have done, something that screams from within you, a forcing function, if you will, to actually make your life somewhat different. And one thing I really like about moving different places, different continents, is you can kind of start fresh, right? Because if you think about all your friends from where you previously live, they have an expectation, a vision in their head of what you're supposed to be, or what you're supposed to look like, the kind of clothes you wear, the kind of behaviors you are kind of box almost into that persona. And you don't have the opportunity to kind of spread your wings and be someone else. And this is not saying that you should be someone else, but perhaps over time you have changed as a human being, and we all change as human beings, but we don't have the space to express or explore these new facets of our personality, because a lot of our social group, a lot of our social network has been structured in such a way that you don't really have the space, the quiet, to think. You sometimes need a lack of structure, a destruction of the chessboard, just wiping out the whole slate to even have the space to understand that, holy shit, the way I lived my life previously is no longer the life I want to live, and this is something new that I'm excited about, something artistic, something physical, something technical, something intangible that I want to pursue, that you now have the space to. Now have the space to be yourself, your new self, the self that you were not 5 years ago in a new place with new people. And this can be all really exciting, especially when you're new, because you have the opportunity to do things you really like go to places you really like, and meet like-minded people who share very similar interests to you and who see you as who you are now and not all the baggage that was left in your childhood or who you were previously. It's a permission to reinvent yourself and to reinvent who you are for that growth trajectory in your life to kind of just change the direction of your life. So I'm always a big fan of moves, of doing something drastic, quitting a job, changing your lifestyle, changing your city, changing your occupation, changing the way you live your life. Because even if it's a negative initially, humans have the great ability to adapt and essentially course correct. And I think the more you can lean in to taking risks, and risks aren't really risks if you think about it. If you have the opportunity to live abroad, to do something different, change the city, you're not gonna die from it. You're not gonna. You're just not gonna be in a bad situation. It might be bad in your head, and you might have a lot of head talk telling you why and why not you can't do this and the opportunity cost. But I argue, if you haven't done that before, you should really take that leap because it's, number one, really exciting. Number two, it tells a great story. And the third reason is you're actually living. You have a life. This is life. This is not meant to be lived by default. This is a life where you should strive to control your narrative, your story, be the main character of your life, or the sidekick to an amazing main character. And it's a shame if you let the opportunity go. You might not have the capability to do that now, but you can start planning. You can start doing all the little building blocks, building those habits that you need, step by step, day by day, so that in 5, 10 years from now, you can go where you want to be. You can be the person that you always envision. But it's tough. It takes a lot of discipline, and that's why I kind of build a lot of these frameworks in my minds. The 60s, for example, which I covered on previous videos. Because I think having a strong foundation and strong mindset, a strong mind really, an indomitable mind is key. Because a lot of life, and I think I'll just pull up like a great chart here that shows a lot of your life is lived alone when you get older, right? When you're younger, you spend a lot of time with your family and your friends. As you get older, the time you spend with your parents decrease exponentially. And even friendship tends to fade away, and time you spend with coworkers, and time you spend with partners, time you spend with family, your new family this time, your kids and your spouse, increase exponentially. And the time you spend alone, most of all, increase a ton. So you're going to spend a lot of time with yourself. And if you spend a lot of time with yourself, you better make sure you like yourself, right? Or at least like who you want to become or who you are becoming. You don't become that person you envision overnight, but you can take the steps to get yourself there. And you can watch as many of these videos as you want, or you can actually write things down. And I always find it helpful to project yourself 5, 10 years from now. Write out the 5 things that you want to become and what are the steps needed to get there. And what are the little habits that you need to have every single day on your calendar such that you improve 1% every single day. And over the course of a year, over 5 years, you are completely unrecognizable. And because you practice that little bit every day, and even though you suck, that's fine. You suck, that's fine. But you practice, you don't give up. You build out resilience, and you build out a sense that failure is not a bad thing. Failure is just part of the journey to success. If you can build that up internally, I guarantee you, you will find what you want. Maybe not how you like it, but something similar, perhaps. That's it.